Let's talk about interview confidence. Confidence for the interview. I know that this is one of those things. So, confidence is one of those things that we don't necessarily go looking for information about. We really want to know, like, what to expect in an interview, what to expect in the lifestyle. Give me some tips, give me some tricks. But confidence is the thing that will make it or break it in your interview. And more than that, confidence is the thing that will make it or break it in your career, because confidence is the foundation of leadership. Think about a flight attendant in an emergency situation. If she does not or he does not appear confident, then he or she will not be able to inspire trust and evacuate an aircraft, orchestrate an evacuation, or collect help for a medical emergency or a security breach. If they are not exuding confidence that inspires people to look at them as leaders, then they are not going to effectively do their job. So, your recruiter knows that you are nervous. 100%, they know you're nervous. If you're not nervous going into an interview, a flight attendant interview, if you're not a little nervous, I'm not talking about like anxiety that like binds you up. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But if you're not even like a little bit nervous, then I'm not so sure that you should be going to the interview, because it kind of feels like you don't care. All right, so you'll have to kind of balance that on your own. If you're feeling just super confident, like, I don't even have nerves because I'm feeling good and excited, I'm okay with that. But, the recruiter expects you to be nervous because they know how much this matters to you and how important this is to you. So nerves are okay. What we want to try to combat with our confidence practice is that situation when the video turns on and you freeze, or you knew what you wanted to say before you started your interview and then it all leaves your head and you're completely speechless. This paralysis that comes with the extreme anxiety and nervousness that can sometimes happen in an interview. That's really what we're trying to prevent from showing or prevent from happening when we talk about a confidence practice. Because let me tell you, if you have to evacuate an aircraft, you're gonna be nervous. I had an emergency landing. It was my first flight at PSA, so it wasn't my first flight as a flight attendant. Thankfully, I'd been a flight attendant for a while, but I was a single flight attendant on a CRJ 200, and I was told to prepare the cabin for an emergency landing. I can assure you I was nervous, I was frightened, but I was able to communicate. I was able to look for resources. I was able to remember there was a UPS pilot in the first row and get me an ABP to help me in case there was an evacuation. Thankfully, no evacuation. But even though I was nervous and frightened, I had confidence in my training, confidence in my ability, and I was able to keep things under control and keep things moving forward. So this is why confidence is important. This is why your recruiter is looking for you to be confident, because they want to know that just like you're nervous in an interview, you can still perform and accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. Because when you're in an emergency, are you going to be able to accomplish what you need to accomplish? Is your training going to kick in? Is your preparation that you the preparation that you went through, which is training, right? Training is to prepare you for these situations. Is the preparation going to come back to the front of your mind and override some of these fight or flight or fawn or freeze responses? Yes, that's what we want. Okay, so that's why we are going to talk about confidence. First of all, because it's just going to make you feel a little bit better. And second of all, it really is a key. It's a key part to the interview. I got that performance problem little pop up again, but that's okay. All right. So let's talk about confidence. First of all, now that I've told you why it's so important, let me give you some information. Let me give you a little quick teaching training to help you get to that confidence. I actually have a full class called the Confidence Class that is part of the Flight Attendant Career Connection Interview Workbook Bundle. So if you've already purchased that, or you have access to it because you're a member of the FAC Hiring Hub, then I encourage you to watch it. It's my favorite class that I've ever taught. that. I don't know if you can tell by my fired up intro, but I love talking about confidence because I feel like it really, really is what makes a good flight attendant, is that ability to remain confident no matter what's kind of going on. So I have a full training. Anyways, this is a mini training. So first thing I want to talk about is information. So a way to help yourself feel more confident and a way to combat those nerves that are causing you to either freeze up or forget everything you ever knew about anything. It's like when they ask that question, like, tell me a little bit about your work experience. And you're like, I don't think I've ever had a job in my whole life. I don't even know. Where you just forget. Information is a way to kind of combat that. So the way that we get information is right now, basically the internet is a really great way to get information. And I'm not just talking about like chat rooms or Glassdoor or Flight Attendant Career Connection Facebook group, YouTube. I'm really talking about the airline's website. So the airline's website, the airline's YouTube channel, information that the airline is putting out about their branding. So information, before you go to an interview, I want you to take some time to learn information about this airline that gets you excited so that you have talking points and ways to connect with them, as well as things that are just exciting to you. So are they ordering new airplanes? Are they getting a new type of airplane? Are they getting, meaning I just saw Allegiant was getting Boeings. That's new for them. That's interesting for them. Let's get information about that. Are they opening new bases? Are they starting new routes? Alaska has just started new routes to the Bahamas from the West Coast. How cool is that? These are the things that I want you to get information about the airline. More than just the core values. Yes, also the core values and the slogan, but also what are they doing to grow as a company? What do they want the experience to be like for their passengers or for their customers? The way you find that is you go to their website and you start to look at their different service choices. You can read the most magically beautiful written descriptions of first class, of Polaris, of economy plus. They have so many amazing words and adjectives and so many different ways that they are describing their particular product. If I was preparing for an interview and I was doing this kind of information research, I would be doing it with a notebook so that when I come across a word, especially in their service description, because that's what we're doing as a flight attendant, right? We are delivering on that service promise that we find on the website. So I would be jotting down the words. Is it elevated? Is it top shelf hospitality? Is it memorable service, world-class service? What are the words that their marketing department chose to use? Because that is what you are wanting to reflect as a flight attendant. That's the type of service that you want to give. Okay, so information, what is happening, that's going to be like in the media. They'll have a page on their website that's like in the media or in the news, and it will have the good articles about them, okay, not the negative articles, but the good articles. But so that's the media, like how are they in the news? And then also we want to look at their branding and their marketing, and also we want to look at their service descriptions on their website. Okay, so that's some ways to get information. Now that brings me to the second point, preparation. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some options on this because recently I have been getting some feedback that that has been sharing with me that some people feel like it could be unethical or they're uncomfortable with knowing everything that's going to happen in the interview that's coming up because they feel like it's almost like knowing the questions to a test. So it would be like if I took a test and then I gave the test to my friend who was taking the same test second period, and that would be called cheating, right? So some people are feeling that way. I don't necessarily feel that way because we're not taking a test. Now, of course, in training, if that were to happen, that's a security breach. That's a little bit different, I feel like. But I don't really consider it unethical or cheating to find out the information to help me prepare for the questions I'm going to be asked. As long as I don't feel like it is cheating for anyone, as long as you prepare, you are being authentic and honest. If you use the questions if you find out what questions they're going to be so that you can come up with a lie star format question, I think that's unethical. If you are going to find out what the questions are so that you can orchestrate some sort of answer that is inauthentic, that is not, if you want to know what they said so that you can repeat it back exactly so you can manipulate or trick the recruiter into hiring you, I think that's unethical. I don't think knowing that I need to be ready with a story about a time I had a coworker who didn't pull their weight, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when that happened to me at Yankee Candle, and I come up with my own story that's true, and I'm ready and prepared. I don't think that is unethical, and that's my personal opinion. So if you feel uncomfortable about that, then first way to prepare is, again, information on the airline is a great way to prepare. And then number two, I mentioned the workbook, the Flight Attendant Career Connection workbook. There's other interview workbooks that are on Amazon that are great. Sarah Kegel has one that's great. So there's some other ones, but these do not specifically target an interview. So if you say, you know what, I don't feel like I should know everything that's going to happen or the exact questions that are going to be asked, I still encourage you to prepare and don't go in completely green, because flight attendant interviews are no joke. They are not easy, and they require a good amount of interview skill, which doesn't necessarily happen because you knew what they were going to ask, right? So if you use these other workbooks that ask flight attendant interview questions not attached to a specific interview, then you wouldn't know what you were going to be asked, but you're still unlocking some of those memories that you haven't thought about in a while. So if you feel more comfortable with that, that is a really good way to go. Now, if you feel okay getting all of the information that you can get from public sources, Glassdoor is a really good resource. Do not research the airline on Glassdoor. We already talked in length how to research the airline, and it's on their website. But you can look at interview questions that other people have been asked on Glassdoor, and then also YouTube. I put out videos talking about what the feedback that I've heard from interviews. I'm not going to these interviews, so I haven't been asked to not share this information. I do think kind of on the other side, I know Delta asks their candidates to not share. So if you are asked to not share and you commit to keep that information to yourself, and you have told them that you're going to keep it to yourself, then I agree that you probably shouldn't go out making your own YouTube videos about it or blasting it out on social media or whatever, because they've asked you not to and you told them that you weren't going to. But this is an interview. This is a professional kind of try out for both sides. I think that when we put all of the power on the airline side, or we say it's cheating to know what they're going to ask, it takes away the part that we are also trying them out. An interview is an opportunity for a candidate and a company to learn about each other and find out if they are a match. So if I'm saying like, I'm going to go in and I don't want to be prepared, and it's kind because I don't want to I want it to be an even playing field. It makes it feel like this even playing field is only about them picking people and not about people picking them. And you are also empowered to find out about the airline during the interview. And sometimes you find out things that are red flags for you personally. It could be base assignments. It could be schedule. It could be just the way the recruiters treated you or the way that the interview was organized. But it should be kind of an even playing field on both sides. It's not like we're just all out there hoping to be picked. An interview is supposed to be an equal conversation where both sides decide. Now, we all know that we really want to be flight attendants that work for the airline, and they do have the upper hand. The airline has the upper hand because they have more options. Delta's going to hire 6,000 flight attendants. They're going to get probably close to 1 million applications. That's insane, right? So they do have more options, so they do have more people to choose from and things like that. But I don't want us to forget that we we both should be making a decision. The airline and the candidate both should be making a decision during an interview process, okay? Kind of like a date. We're both deciding. We think this might be a fit, but we're both going to decide, okay? So that is preparation. So if you, like I said, if you feel comfortable knowing what to expect, or you feel more comfortable knowing what to expect, YouTube, I try to put out YouTube videos. There's other YouTube videos. Keep in mind that things will change, though. The process will change. Even some of my, like most of my Delta videos, the information about the company and about the face-to-face is still accurate, but I think that my video still talks about a live video interview. They haven't done a live video interview in months, and I just haven't updated my video. So you can't take it as gospel either. We're just taking it as information to help us prepare. And I try to make sure that's clear in all my videos too, that like I'm not on the inside and your experience could be different, but it's still nice to know kind of like what they're sort of asking or what they're kind of doing. I think that that can really help with confidence, because I feel like I'm prepared for what I'm going to encounter when I go into this interview. Okay, so that's preparation. Another way to prepare, a great way for preparation and information, is to join the FAC Hub so that you can attend Study Hall. Study Hall is a group coaching experience. It happens twice a month, and it is a much more intimate than experience, meaning there's less people there than just like shouting things out into the internet or just asking in the Facebook group that has over 100,000 members, or hoping you find a YouTube video, because people do give their experience. Now, within the ethics, if we have people coming back from Delta, they got a CJO, we're not asking them to like spill the beans. In fact, I was working with a client this week, a coaching client, private coaching client, and she had her interview, and she said, if you want, I can come to the study hall on Saturday, because we're having one Saturday, and share. And I was like, thank you. I would love to hear notes about like how you felt during the interview, but I know they're gonna ask you not to share, and I'm not gonna say like, oh yay, that would be great in this moment, knowing that they're gonna ask you that. So I told her, I was like, I so appreciate that, and that means a ton to me that you would do that, but they're gonna ask you not to share, and I wouldn't ever want to put you out on like a public platform, disregarding their request. So I was like, we're not going to plan for that, but thank you. But in study hall, there are times when people are sharing like, this question stumped me, or I'm really excited about this. So there is some information that comes out in study hall. This is probably a good time to mention about that study hall I just mentioned. There's a free public study hall on July 15th. So if you're watching this before July 15th, please register to attend. This one's going to be a little bit bigger because it's open to the public, but it's a really good chance to spend some time with me, spend some time with other candidates, get to hear a little bit of other people's stories, a little bit of other people's interview answers. We do practice answering interview questions, and you get to see like, oh, that's cool. I was wondering how a nurse would answer that question, or whatever. It's just really great for your interview skills to listen to other people answer interview questions, and I give them feedback. So you get to hear my feedback too. So that's why it's called a group coaching program. So again, check in the description in the description of the video, and please sign up, because even if you can't make it live, if you register, I will send you the recording, and then you have access to the recording. So those are two ways, information preparation. Now, the third way I want to talk about today is about positive self-talk. So this one is actually probably the most important, but I put it third because it's also kind of the most obscure, or the most like kind of like woo woo. It's one thing to like go to the United website and read and take notes. That feels very tangible, but positive self-talk or positive self-thought is a little more abstract. But this is how I want you to do it, or here's an idea. I'm not saying I want you to do it. However, let me do it like yoga. I offer you the opportunity to do it this way, okay? So, if available to you. So, positive self-talk. Why this is important is because it stops the runaway thoughts that are just busting your confidence. Because most of those runaway thoughts that are busting your confidence are flat out lies. or if you want to put a different F word in there, flat out lies. Okay, they're not true. They're never going to want me. What if I'm not good enough? What if they don't see what I have to bring to the table? What if I'm actually not up to the standard of this airline? What if I can't interview well? What if I can't tell them? What if I don't have a story to tell them? What if I, okay? No, all of those, not true. And when you start to think like that and you start to get nervous like that, especially when you're preparing or you're thinking about an upcoming interview, using positive self-talk or thoughts is going to stop that. And what I want you to do is just tell yourself the truth. You could do mantras, whatever, but I just recommend you just tell yourself the truth. So, I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm never going to be able to be what they want. Is that true? No. If you were right now on that airplane, would you be serving and loving and protecting and interacting and connecting with their customers really well? Would you? Yes, you would. So I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm never going to be good enough is not true. It's not true. So I want you to remind yourself when it starts to spiral, I'm never going to be able to do this. It's too hard. There's too many other people. I'm never going to be better than the person next to me. Well, guess what? You don't have to be better than the person next to you. Like I said, Delta, 6,000 flight attendants this year. American, my friend just sent me a message yesterday. They said American, 4,000 flight attendants next year. If you're in a group of 50 people, you don't have to be better than the person next to you. You are competing with yourself, and I use competing like loosely because we're not competing with each other. Your only goal is to show your recruiter why you would be a good flight attendant. Your goal is not to show your recruiter why you would be a better flight attendant than the person sitting next to you. That's not the goal. Hopefully you're both awesome and you end up in training together and you already met and you're best friends. That's the goal. That's what we want. And that really, really can happen. It's happened to me. It happens all the time. So what we want to be thinking about is, what is the truth? A different client I was talking with this week, this was the second time we had talked. We were in interview coaching, second time we had talked. And this time when she got on the call, she was nervous. She was visibly anxious. And I asked her, how you're doing? How are you feeling? Have you, based on like what we talked about last time, how are you doing? Have you been working on your questions? And she's like, I have. But again, the anxiety. And I was like, you look nervous. You look a little anxious. And she was like, I am. And she's like, I just don't know if I can do this and those things. And so I took a little bit of time to encourage her. And then I asked her this question. I asked her, I said, okay, let's do a little practice. So what do you have to offer Delta? And why do you think you would be an asset to Delta Airlines? And she started to share with me why she thought she would be an asset, what she had to offer about her skills, her empathy, her ability to read people and know what they need to be able to diffuse situations when people come in frustrated, being able to really listen and empathize. And she answered the question. Now, that's not a Delta interview question. Delta's not going to ask that question as far as I know. I don't think it's an interview question at all. But the reason that I asked the question, and I shared this with her too after she answered it, I said, the reason I asked you that question was because you were really, really selling yourself short. You were really, really kind of downplaying or feeling like what you have to offer is not enough. But then when I asked you that question and you were forced to speak the positive things that you bring to the table, it's like everything lit up and everything. I was like, that answer was fantastic. Does that not sound like a person who would be a good flight attendant? And she said, yes, it does. And so that is something that you can do for yourself. You can ask yourself, what do I bring to the table? What kind of skills and experience? What are some of my qualities? What are some of my qualifications that I bring to the table? Because another thing she was asking me is, she said, I've read that I need to stand out, which is bad advice. So I'm like, first of all, we don't really necessarily want to stand out because they're going to put you in a uniform. So that kind of shows that they want their work group to sort of be similar in some ways. And then also, like I already told y'all, we're not competing against each other. So, a nurse, if there's a nurse and you and a teacher, You're all going to have a different skills that you're bringing to the table. A nurse has got a medical background. She's amazing at saving lives. A teacher, great classroom management skills, great ability to manage crowds and communicate information to people on lots of different levels. That's what she brings to the table. And then you bring what you bring to the table, and it is just as good. Is the nurse's ability better than the teacher's, or the teacher, or is she trying to stand out? No, we're not trying to stand out and like surpass each other. You just need to know what you bring to the table and be ready to share that. And so when you start to feel like your confidence is waning and your confidence is really getting busted up by all of these lies, or you get a rejection email, you're not successful. That is, odds are that could happen to you at some point in this journey. It happens to most people. No one's path to success is straight. No one's. Even the people on Instagram that look super cool in the passport plum, their path was not straight. They faced some sort of opposition. I don't know what everyone's opposition was, but I can assure you it wasn't easy for them to go through the interview and to go through the training and to get their feet under them. They faced some challenges, okay? So you're going to face challenges too. That's normal. But remember what you bring to the table. Remember why you want to be a flight attendant. Remember how those passengers, remember that those passengers need you and your specific background and your specific experiences. Okay? I one time was talking to a lady who wanted to, she had flown in the past before she had children. And now she's trying to get back into aviation, and she had in that time period, she had lost a child. And, you know, we just kind of talked about how she had a passenger when she was a flight attendant before that had just gotten a call that her son had been in an accident right before the door closed. So she was the flight attendant, and so she was with that passenger for several hours. You know, we didn't, back before the Wi-Fi and everything, so no one knew what was happening on the ground at the time. And then we talked about how now that, and she did the best, you know, to comfort her. But then we talked about how now on this side of life, on this side of all those things that have happened to her, how she could have, if that happens again, the level of empathy and knowing what that customer needs and being able to help another human, her ability to do that has increased substantially because of an experience that she experienced. And I think that these things are good to remember because every single one of us has a different life, has a different skill, has a different experience, and it all comes together to be able to make us each an individual amazing flight attendant that either can make someone laugh or can notice when someone's crying or can comfort someone who's grieving or can celebrate the best or can manage the galley and keep it organized better than anyone else. Okay? I put my hands up, but that is not me. Not me in the galley. So we all bring something different to the table. We don't all need to be the same. We don't all need to be a cookie cutter. You're not trying to stand out from the others. You're just trying to make sure that yourself is standing up and standing out so that they can see who you are and what you bring to the table. Okay, so those are my 3 main points about confidence, but I have a couple bonuses. Okay, these are like little things that you can do. Those are kind of the 3 main things you need to do to help increase your confidence, but I had a couple other ideas. One is about lighting. So when you are doing your video interview, what is in front of your face is more important than what is behind your head. Okay, we spend too much time worrying about what's behind us. Now, yes, you do want to have like a nice, non-offensive, non-distracting background, but that's really it. You don't have to take all your photos down. You don't have to find a blank place. You could be in your kitchen. You can be wherever. You don't want like your unmade bed behind you or like a bunch of garbage or like an ashtray. Do people even still have ashtrays? I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what would look bad in the background. Whatever's behind you, make sure it's neat and tidy. It's in your house. They know you're in your house, okay? What is in front of your face is way more important. Spend more time on your lighting than your background. So natural light is best. I've got a lot of natural light coming in on me out of these windows. That's why this is my favorite place to do videos. But if you look back, I think it was Tuesday, it was really overcast here and I had like a shadow on my face. The lighting was not so great. The lighting wasn't as great. But so you can either buy a clip-on ring light from Amazon and just clip it over your the camera on your computer. You can buy a bigger ring light, like a diva light if you want. You could just put lamps on the other side. Sitting in front of a window or a door is the best because it's that natural light though, okay? But please, you will feel more confident on camera if you are lit well. You will look younger and fresher and brighter, okay? So you will feel more confident. Another thing is about what you're wearing to the interview. So make sure that you feel comfortable, confident in it. All right. So yes, you have to wear like a suit, pantyhose, heels, like you're not wearing comfort clothes. I understand that, but we don't want to be tugging. If you have to tug your dress down every time, or you have to like wiggle your tie, or like put your finger in your neck of your shirt, all of that is not going to help you feel like your most confident self. And it also, fixing your clothes is like a body language sign of not being confident. So if your clothes are really not fitting you well and it's causing you to fuss with them, it's sending those signals out that you're not confident. And we already talked about why confidence is important. Plus you're going to be kind of distracted by it, and we don't want anything to distract. Same with hair. Okay, we don't have to wear hair in a bun, slicked back anymore. If you want to do that because you feel like awesome, do it. But don't worry about having to do it if you feel weird about it. On the other hand, if your hair down, if you mess with it, push it away, sling it back, twirl it, pull it back. You don't want to be messing with your hair during your interview, okay? So you have a lot of flexibility now about hair. We have a lot more flexibility than we did even just a few years ago for the interview. But basically, you want to make sure that you feel good, like you feel like you look good. I had one client who said, do I have to wear my hair back? She was blonde and older than me. And she was like, do I have to wear my hair back? Because I feel like I'm bald-headed if I wear my hair back. I just look bald-headed in the video. I was like, you don't have to wear it slicked back to the point that you look bald-headed. No, wear it down. Again, like, it's about confidence. She would have felt really non-confident. She would have felt not confident with her hair slicked back like that. So let's choose not to do it that way. But if I'm talking with someone who's playing with their hair while we're coaching, I'm going to tell them to pull it back because they can't be messing with it either. Okay. Another thing is power posing. There was a cute post in the Facebook group last week of a lady had shared a photo of her daughter, like her older daughter, doing a power pose. Because in the confidence class, I talk a lot about power poses and how it actually changes the chemicals in your body, increases your testosterone and lowers your cortisol. But power posing, not to get into all of it, you can watch the confidence class if you're interested. But basically standing kind of like Superman, feet shoulder width apart, hands on your hips, chest up. Kind of put your chin up a little bit and stand there for a few minutes. Before a video interview, you can do this right before for like a minute. If you need to do it during a live, like a in-person interview, you could do it when you go into the restroom, or you can kind of just like stand up a little bit straighter. Those things can help too, but power posing can be really powerful. And then my last one is just for video interviews is perfume. Before I come on and do a video, or before I get to work, or before I do something, especially if I'm going to do something that's kind of making me scary, I put on my good perfume, even though I'm by myself. And I wouldn't do this necessarily for a face-to-face because we want to be careful about smells, but I spray a little perfume on me and it makes me feel like a fancy lady who could do anything. And so it just boosts my confidence. So maybe a little bit of perfume or cologne will help boost your confidence too. That's just a little extra. If it's going to make your sneeze or your eyes water, don't do it though. All right. Well, thank you for spending some time with me. I hope that this little mini class on confidence was helpful. And if you would like to connect with me, please join the email list. But if you'd like to connect or check out the workbook, please check out the links in the description, and it should get you to where you're trying to get. And I will talk to you later. Good luck.